To Red Bull LAN Orlando, day 3. It's Championship Sunday. I'm day 9.
And I'm DJ Wheat, and we just got off of our first match in the round of 8 where we saw JYP advance, and now we're moving immediately into our next matchup, Quantic SaSe versus Liquid Red, a matchup I'm quite excited for because this was exactly what Sheth was working towards, working in his ZVP.
Liquid Sheth, they're starting on Antigua Shipyard, and the build that we saw Sheth trying to work on was that anti-air play, but also some transition elements to the late game. As we're hopping into this game, we do see in the bottom right corner, we have Quantic SaSe spawning as the red Protoss, and in the top left, we have Liquid Sheth as the purple Zerg. And I know SaSe really doesn't like going for Stargate very often. He's much more of a warp prisming player.
That's actually a great point. And in fact, although he said he didn't do it, he did have a very, very nice air opening that involved a lot of Zealots and attack on the third. Unfortunately for him, when he did do that versus Sheth was able to shut it down and ultimately squeak out that last win in the game. If you recall, on day 1, that was the one where we thought, oh no, Sheth is going to lose all of his challenge games. But even after that super strong attack at the third, he still managed to pull it out.
And look at this, a pylon. That's kind of a weird place. I mean, ordinarily everyone likes to early expand here, but SaSe, I do believe he's aware that Sheth is a Zerg player.
That's probably something you don't forget. Now, what does that mean? I don't know, but the gateway's going down, so he's not going to go with an FE build. Is he going to go for something more aggressive? We're going to find out.
Well, there's a couple of things to note. Already, we're a little bit more comfortable against 6 pools. We can build a pylon here, force the probes in here, and rally the Zealot on the inside lip. And this is not a very vulnerable pylon. Moreover, if we're expanding, we may as well expand and wall off with 2 gateways anyway. So SaSe is essentially looking at the map architecture, saying forge fast, expand, kind of risky in some circumstances, even though it's unlikely Sheth is going to do that, even though this is the tournament version of Antigua, which means only cross-map position. I still think that SaSe is well aware that he could get away with this comfortable expand after he goes gas.
Well, let me ask you this. Was this a predetermined map, or did one player get to choose?
Predetermined. Every match in this second round begins on Antigua Shipyard.
Okay, great. So, I mean, also, SaSe probably... for this particular map, the third, it's been argued back and forth amongst the Protoss. Like, is the third hard to take? Is it not? The Zerg seems to not have that much problem with it as long as they get that creep spread. But I wonder if that's any indication of that. SaSe is very vocal about what he likes and what he doesn't like in the game, and he deals with it as such. But I wonder if this is actually, some sort of indication on that. We see Zealot number 1 coming out. Zealot number 2 is also going to be on its way, which in a lot of cases can actually be pretty deadly. I mean, anytime a 1, 2, 3 can get in there, it can be really hard to deal with when all you can build is Zerglings. Now, the Overlord did see Zealot number 1. Will he see any additional Zealots that might be marching down towards Sheth?
That's important to note that Sheth has really been practicing this 3-base play, and all of a sudden now, boom, he's having to go against 2-base. SaSe is very experienced with this style of play, as we do see that 1 sentry now getting ready to pop out. SaSe is really good about using his rally points to dictate the timing for these probes.
The Zealot is going to now chase after that Zergling. I'm not sure that he actually wants to do that, but another one there, he turns him back around. And now, excuse me, we have another Zealot going to stop this Zergling at the ramp, try to keep him up. And what does he see? Well, no wall off, but he did see the Nexus. And he's got to be saying, well, that seems a little odd, but there's no harm. There's nothing to worry about as far as what Sheth is doing at this time. So, he can get away with that. Right now we have 1 gas for Sheth. And then down there, just as you mentioned, Sean, there we see at the front, we have another gateway to wall it off.
Now, SaSe could very well just build a single gate and then a forge. No, he will be going double gate. At this point, Sheth may very well just say, okay, cool, time to plant down. My third expansion, not going to be a big problem. I will happily, comfortably just transition into what I would have practiced earlier on. Or Sheth could go for a little more of an aggressive play. We see these links cropping up right now. At this point in time, SaSe is really the one who's going to have to be in a little bit of an awkward spot, as he's almost forced down a very, very thin path. Sure, he could go Robo. Sure, he could get this +1 upgrade, but it's a fairly predictable follow-through the instant that Sheth spots this forge.
And actually, Sheth has not thrown down his third quite yet at all. He's just continuing to drone up. Right now, he is at 38 drones to 27 probes at this point, grabbing that additional gas. And there we see inside SaSe's base. He's got his warp gate. Not warp gate, it's hallucination.
Wow. Well, you know, this is pretty expected. If I am pretty much forced down a path to be relatively low on my tech, to be having to focus on probes, I may as well get as much knowledge as I can and try to just veer my response as stereotyped as possible. Do an extreme counter as best I can to whatever I spot with those hallucinated phoenixes.
We've got an Overlord in the back, going to try to poke up here and see what he can see. Just sees the one gas and is content with that information. Backs off, doesn't want to lose that Overlord quite yet. And in the meantime, SaSe, just with his 5 sentries, 2 zealots, kind of moving out to the front. He's going to, he hallucinates a warp prism.
Ooh, this is a great way to catch an enemy's army out of position. There's been no robo constructed yet. SaSe's going to move forward. And what is the immediate response from Sheth going to be? Pull all the units back, and then SaSe can hit the front. Maybe warp prism, or excuse me, maybe force field the ramp. Looks like SaSe does manage to just poke into the main. And even if he doesn't end up catching the army out of position, he can force Sheth to make a lot more units than he ordinarily would.
And there he shows off the warp prism as we look over. Well, I mean, he's just going to get out of there. But as you mentioned, there's the reaction. All the Zerglings coming in here. The Queen's now moving over like, oh no, this is something now that I have to deal with.
And interestingly, we see Sheth going for 1-1 upgrades, really fast infestation pit.
Ling run by.
And a Ling run by will. Oh, it looks like he's just going to go straight for the probes and a natural expansion, do as much guaranteed damage as he can. And once those troops show up, now it's time to swing on around into the main base. Looks like SaSe tries to block, ineffective. There is another sentry that ends up being morphed in, and it looks like a real warp prism is going to make an appearance as well.
Yep, well, 6 probes so far, possibly number 7. Yeah, he snags one off the gas. Looking for number 8, and does get quite a few there. 7 total. And like you said, the real warp prism coming out now. Now, I'm not actually sure that he even realized whether that was a fake one or not, but he hasn't seen it return quite yet. And look at the amount of Lings that are heading on down right now, possibly wanting to catch his army opposition once again. He warps a few zealots off to the side here in the middle of the map, and he will load them up and take them into his opponent's base while the Lings quickly run. Oh, actually just going to go in, check for the third, find a pylon. Their Nexus is not going to go down there. And really just scouting with this, and he can choose to attack, but it's going to be very hard here.
Uh-oh, there's the drop. SaSe with impeccable timing on this drop, really throwing Sheth off. Sheth was convinced that was a hallucinated warp prism at the start. He was right, and nice little mind game there by SaSe. But will it be enough? It looks like the warp prism does fall. Sheth with a nice defense with the 1-1 Lings. He's now retreating everything back. He is rapidly finishing up those pathogen gland upgrades. The Lings do arrive, clean it up, and there's the nice defense by Sheth, eliminating that warp prism threat. And I got to be honest, I love the way that Sheth is playing this out. This +1/+1 fast infestor. I mean, it's not actually very good against an early expanding Protoss, but against a Protoss who goes for a 1 gate and then expand, very, very effective against that small army number.
And he has a ton of Lings here that he can keep his opponent just kind of at bay with. This time he's going to hallucinate now a warp prism and a phoenix. And keep in mind, like, he's still actually got a fairly reasonable amount of sentry energy. So it's not like these are, not like this is necessarily a waste of that energy at all, because like you mentioned, the mind games are doing a good job there. But Sheth just handling it so well. He did see that warp prism, though. He's responding to it. So once again, the hallucination throws him off a little bit.
Now, SaSe is playing very, very unusually, which is, of course, never a surprise with SaSe. He's a very unorthodox player. But SaSe backs up that unorthodox play with stability. He managed to knock down Puma 2-0 in the round, or in the first round, the round of 16. Now here in the round of 8, he's getting up to, it looks like, 6 gateways in his main, as well as the double robotics facility production. So this really looks like a timing push from SaSe. He wants to try to get up 3 to 5 of those Colossi and immediately begin warping in 6 warp gates worth of reinforcements.
Now the Lings have cleared out the rocks in the back. The third is up now. More hallucinations coming in to scout here for his opponent, which once again the Lings are responding to. And one thing I'm really curious about is Well, let's see. He's got 8 Infestors out now, or he was building 8, I thought. How many do we actually have on the 5? Burrow is just about done if it hasn't already been completed. It looks like it has. So will that be enough? It could be pretty nasty force moving out. I mean, how is he going to deal with the Colossus?
I mean, really, he's going to have to land some key fungals until he ends up getting that completion on the Roach speed that we see behind that natural expansion. A 4th base going down for Sheth, not forgetting that even if he does withstand this attack, it's the long-term game plan he needs to go for. Right now, Sheth needs to do only Roach production. If he can delay till that 2-2 finish, that would be a big bonus. Still 30 seconds out. That's a very long time when there's a push this intimidating. I mean, Sheth may very well just let that natural die, and there's the counter from Sheth. It does run into a wall. He knows that the 3rd is safely controlled. SaSe moving forward.
What?
Wait, whoa! What? There was a hole on that right side.
Apparently.
Oh my goodness! I think
SaSe
managed to squeeze his way in, and here's Sheth with a very nice set of fungals. The slow Roaches, though, struggling against those very nicely energy-filled sentries. More incredible force fields thrown down. The Spine Crawlers hop into the fray. There's the Warp Prism. Meanwhile, at the main base, we see the counterattack from Sheth doing some huge damage to all the gateway count. That means that SaSe's going to have a difficult time reinforcing. He's in such a great position now. SaSe moving up to this high ground. He is well behind Sheth in terms of food. At that natural expansion, we see that the Zerglings are breaking through. The 2-2 upgrades helping so much. A giant number of Roaches break through, and Sheth might be able to defend this push.
He's trying hard. A few Roaches do come through. He's really missing out on force field energy at this point, but he does manage to scoot him back. He is going to take out this hatchery as well. And there is no more Lings left in the front of his natural. He did lose a gateway, and one is unpowered. But the reward is this 3rd base and a lot of Roaches killed. It's not too bad. However, Sheth knows, okay, your army's going to take forever to get back home. I'm going in yet again.
Now, is Sheth going to reinforce with any Infestors? We do see 1 or 2 building, and it looks like a Roach counterattack.
The Shark.
He
catches one, not only one Immortal, but possibly a 2nd Immortal, and what else is here? There's nothing. Maybe a couple of Zealots. This is a great decision, I think, here.
Looks like he is just sweeping right in. He saw that it was vulnerable at the front, and effectively a 2nd Immortal getting killed off, waltzing right on in. And SaSe actually pulling back, not quite realizing how vulnerable the main was. Incredible hold position micro there by SaSe, using those 2 Immortals to do maximum damage. The money force field has gone down. What will Sheth do? Is he going to retreat? He finds a pair of Juicy Stalkers up there at the front, and here comes the force field trap. Oh, those Roaches are now committed to being battling at that front, but SaSe has to have some answer to be able to stay alive.
He's going to try to poke forward and see if he can pick off a Colossus, but it does not happen. Roaches are now eliminated, and SaSe holds that attack on his front after having lost his 3rd. He does have that 4th up, so he is going to have the 3rd base that he'll be able to work with a little bit, but so far away. How he's going to deal with this is SaSe is moving back up, and by the way, in that also the attack of the 3rd, I'm not sure you noticed, but a bunch of Infestors died. Burrow tried to get out of there, and he had the Observer just fried them underground.
Oh no, is there an Observer? Oh, there is.
Yeah.
SaSe would have been in a very awkward spot, and another counterattack by Sheth runs in, catches another Immortal. Sheth playing brilliantly in this game.
This one's going to be pretty devastating as well. More Zealots are warped in, but he's lost a ton of probes here. Look at this, 46 probes killed, but hold on, we got a battle at the front as he is going to go ahead and attack. The force fields go down. Roaches coming in from both sides. He needs to get some good fungals. There's one on the front, but he's also being very cautious with those Infestors, knowing that they will be crucial to this battle.
In the meantime, it looks like SaSe continuing to move forward. Sheth retreating all the way back, does have that northern expansion up, and is just rallying more Roaches down to the natural expansion. Sheth just needs to defend this one single push. The force fields are incredible from SaSe, but he is almost fresh out of energy.
Yeah, and we see a lot of those Infestors now having gone down, just one in the back, but a lot of these units are funneling into the front. He tries to pick off a Colossus, and he does, but there's still so much left here, and right now that 3rd did get repopulated with drones, but the Natural's going down, a force field on the ramp, and everything will get fried there, just stacking on top of one another. Nothing but a flame of Zerg bodies, and it looks like game 1 will go to SaSe, despite the fact that there's another counterattack inside the main from Sheth. But I do believe that we'll see SaSe do. Actually, SaSe literally.
Oh, it's a good game from Sheth.
I think SaSe was down to like 4 probes.
Let's go ahead and hop back into the game and see. Wow, he actually had 15 probes.
15?
But they were all back in the main doing
Okay.
almost nothing. So after a crazy game one where we see Sheth is very confident in that counterattack game, but SaSe with that unusual double robotics facility reinforcement.
Yeah,
getting so many immortals so swiftly.
I mean, you know, SaSe is just amazing because I see him do stuff that I haven't seen other players do, you know, and just quite frankly, just to be able to think about the game at that level, but even more impressive to be able to compete in the game at that level and do some of these unorthodox things, I think is really, really great. I mean, his pro gaming history, if you're not familiar, he was a Warcraft 3 player, you know, his own set of accolades amongst the Warcraft 3 community and some of the things that he won, but it really is showing off here in StarCraft 2. I mean, he's quite a phenomenal player.
Yeah, I mean, having that sort of focus under pressure, we talked about that in Hasu versus JYP showing up right there again in